Hi everyone, it's Justin here, Voices for Voices. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching, listening here in the United States or across the world. Because of you, we have this great platform to share, to talk about mental health, trauma, recovery, and all topics in between. If you can give us the big thumbs up, like, follow, subscribe, share, repost, we would greatly appreciate that. It's something that's free to do. Follow us on social media. We're everywhere. That'd be awesome if you could do that. And just being a part of the Voices for Voices family, we want to say thank you for that. Whether this is your first show or you've been with us from the beginning, we're over 480 episodes. It's awesome. So thank you for that. And if you'd be able to, you could reach out to maybe 25 contacts in your phone and let them know about the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. Give them all the pertinent information, the links, and let them choose how they want to watch and or listen to the show. Thank you so much. Day of the week. Day of the week. Are there certain days that are different than others? So we'll cover a few different ways. For me, I I would have to say yes. Uh, I say like the old me. Uh, Sundays would be the uh, one of the days that I would feel different on mentally, and that is because on Monday, the next day, I gotta head back into work, and depending, this may or may not be you. I'm just sharing my experience. If we like our jobs, if we like what we do, we may not feel that way. If we like what we do and we're treating differently, meaning that we're not being respected by members of the company we work for, that we feel, hear the term, uh, being burnout, mentally, where our mind needs a nap, right? Our body needs rest and relaxation. So does our mind. And if we have those thoughts of, oh my gosh, tomorrow, I just know when I get in that my manager is gonna just land three or four extra things on my desk that I'm gonna need to do right away before I even get started with my regular work. Which, oh, by the way, when that happens, doesn't mean you can usually push the regular work, like the regular routine. Doesn't mean that you can push that off. So the deadlines for that regular work still stay the same. That's the part where it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? How am I going to get through this day? And and then our mind begins to drift some, maybe. So for the old me, that's how it was. So Sundays were the days of it being it being a rough day because again, for me at that time, everything I would do during the day of Sunday, it would be with a little bit of hesitation because my mind was like, oh man, oh, tomorrow's Monday. And again, if you love what you do, all the power to you. Now I love what I do. And so it doesn't feel that much like that all the days of the week, for the most part. Some are busier than others. But when you love what you do, like I love helping people. I love sharing my experience and others on the show and other ways. When you love what you do, like what you do, things things are different, and they are. So a Sunday for me is like, okay, well, we have the same kind of work to do on Monday that we did on Sunday and Saturday and Friday and Thursday. You get the drift. How about having a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment and having last week had a dental appointment to correct or fix a chipped filling that is a cavity that I have. I I didn't want to do it. I mean, let's be straight up. And so that was, I forget what day of the week it was. I mean, I could look up real quick and find it, but it doesn't matter. So whatever day of the week the dental appointment is, the day before could feel like, oh, I don't want to go to the dentist tomorrow. Oh, I don't want to go to the doctor tomorrow. Um, and so that's definitely how I was feeling. And then it gets to be that day, the day of the appointment. And then it just depends on what time of day the appointment is. Is the appointment in the morning, afternoon, early evening? How long is the appointment supposed to take? What are we going to review or what's going to happen to my teeth? And, uh, so I had obviously a numb side of my mouth for a good part of the day. And so that was a different thing, not something that I haven't experienced before. Um, but anytime you're doing, uh, medical procedures and dental procedures, like a crown or fixing uh, a chip filling or getting a brand new filling on a different tooth, and so that can affect us, right? Differently mentally because our mind. I mean, I always like to look at everything like a circle, right? So you draw the circle and then you have each part and you have different percentages. Well, if your mind and my mind of that circle is, let's say, 80% uh, where we feel pretty decent as we can, And then maybe 20, there's jitters, anxiety, extra anxiety, stress, all that. Well, when we look at taking some of that 80% on the day before and on the day or days of the month, uh, of the week, and we have stress, anxiety, etc. Well, that 80% could go to like 50. And so half the time could be feeling okay. I'm feeling okay. Doesn't mean everything's great. No, just mean, all right, I'm feeling okay. And then the other 50%, which was 20, jumped 30% to be 50%. Now 50% is that added stress, anxiety. And so you get what I'm saying. And I'm not talking about anything that is super complex, but it is something that affects us, whether we think it does or not. I don't mean we have to get pen and paper, pencil and paper to do this. I think it's just, something that me communicating to you and you communicating to others on your behalf or maybe somebody else's behalf affects us. It just does. And so when we try to go on with our days, right? Or, oh, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. Well, it's easy to say, but it's another thing, even if we want to believe it, like, oh, today's just a regular day. Well, is it? We talk about, dental procedures. Uh, there's, there's some danger in that, right? I mean, when you're dealing with, getting part of our mouths numb, I believe it's a needle that's used to that does that. Uh, so there's always things that could go wrong. And then if we cross that over into the medical space, if we just had a test done for whatever, I don't know. There's so many different things it can be, right? I mean, maybe we were in a car accident. Maybe, I don't know. It could be anything. It could just be we're getting older in age, or not, because disease and diseases, for the most part, don't know an age and don't know whether you're a Republican or Democrat, don't know any of that stuff. And one of those is cancer. Cancer does not only affect a certain political party or a certain person. Like it it doesn't. It just does what it does. So if we rewind and we're talking about, are there days of the week that could really be stressful for us. They were talking about getting a biopsy or some other test. Could be one test, could be three tests, could be 10. I don't know. But when we're talking about like those serious diseases, then that brings on a whole new, like these are life, like the other things I was talking about, they can be life altering. They can. Lower on a scale, mostly, not always. But when we're talking about, okay, the doctor saw something, he or she wants you to come in next week for a test to rule something out or rule something in. And so I'm using cancer as an example. So to rule that it could be cancer or that it's benign, that it's not. And then you get into what kind, and then there's like, additional tests usually. Uh, so heck yeah, if if that's me, I mean, I've gone over with about my family and with my dad, going into the emergency room and having symptoms and basically leaving with the doctor saying, "Oh, don't Google this before your next appointment." So that's serious. So that takes, again, that's right that instant, right that instant goes from, oh, I'm gonna go for a minor appointment, meaning a small appointment, to oh, I've got cancer, and then oh my gosh, it's already stage 4. Oh my gosh, I have less than a year to live. And it goes on and on. So the mind is definitely going to process that information a little bit differently than going and get a cavity filled or a chipped one, a cracked one. Yes, there are things that could go wrong with having a cavity filled, a crown put on. I'm not a dentist, so I don't know the terminology. Cancer is just so like a widespread universal name. And then as we know, there's just hundreds and probably thousands of different cancers. And there's probably some that we haven't even discovered yet. So when we talk about, a cavity being filled and then finding out we have cancer, well, the mind's going to be nervous, anxious, and so that's going to affect my mental health that way. And then finding out I have some amount of time to live, usually they give a range or they say we don't want to talk about that. We just want to we just want to get to helping you. Well, that speaks for itself, speaks volumes. And so as we kicked off this episode talking about our days of the week different, and I started off talking about, work, going into the office or logging in on Zoom or another, and Zoom is not a sponsor of Voices for Voices, but it is an audiovisual platform that is used along with others for companies to communicate and have meetings. So we can see that now, right? Not again, I'm not teaching how to f make a rocket fly into space. Talking about real life and how the very day that you're watching and listening to this, hopefully it's a good day. Hopefully it's less of a stressful day. But we do talk about, as we have today, talk about things and experiences, and a lot of it's hard to do, or some people just don't want to do it. I mean, I don't get like all this joy by talking about these hard topics. What gives me anything close to joy is that there is at least one person that's watching and listening that may learn something to help them and or somebody in their family, uh, colleague at work, loved one, you name it. It may just bring just some perspective of, okay, yeah, it's as normal can be to feel the stress and anxiety for different reasons. And so I just went through a whole host of different ways and reasons that uh, we could feel that way, one way or the other. And so the one that I wasn't the one in my family that had that cancer diagnosis. That was my dad. But I went to every single appointment that I could. I think I went to all of them. I was teaching during that time, so I may have come in like in the middle of an appointment or those things. But as a family member, a son to my dad, I was dreading those days. I was dreading those appointments. And so I can only imagine how that affected my dad, not just physically, but mentally. 'Cause there's just a lot of different things that you don't even think of and that I didn't think of because I didn't know. Because up until that point, I didn't have I didn't have to really know. So the best thing you can do that I've found is just to be present. I mean, yeah, if you're able to financially pay for things and there's a lot of things you can do. But just as a human being, just being in the same room. So just as my dad, when I was in 2017, 2018, when the therapy and the mental health valley was dealt to me partially by myself, where my dad would come and just literally sit in the same room for hours. He would sit in the hospital for I think it was partial inpatient. So part of the day was in the hospital, the other part was at home. And I had that fear of driving. And so he drove me everywhere for a long time. He didn't complain once. He didn't say, oh no, can't do that. He stopped what he was doing and he was there again, just sitting in that room. And then I take a full 180 when he had his cancer diagnosis. There were many times where we would just be sitting in the same room. Instead of it being my house, it was my mom and dad's house. And so yeah, food and money and all those things, those are helpful, of course. But when it all comes down to it, one day the person's going to be here on Earth, and another day they're not. They're going to be in heaven, watching down on us, being an angel for us. And so I find that so humbling because for so many years, I thought doing something on a grand level, like I got to do this and I got to do that, thinking that, well, if I donated this or if I did this, then that's better than if somebody else didn't do this. No, I really learned what it meant to just be there and show love to my dad, in part by the way he was showed love to me in my darkest days, which turned out to be a blessing in disguise because I was able to put the past away to an extent. because I was able to talk about it. I was able to get therapy. I did it because I wanted to live. I didn't think, well, I mean, having alcohol, drinking, again, mostly the binge drinking on the weekends. I was like, I don't want to stop this. But then I was like, well, I'd rather live. And so I'm still learning to live right now. And then for my dad, we all did as much as we could, as humanly possible. Looked at therapeutics. I remember one time, one of the one of the visits, we went to a different hospital to get basically a second opinion, and then to see if the cancer had spread. And because we were hoping that it was in one spot, so that potentially surgery and chemo and radiation would have dealt with it. And so we were holding on to hope. And so we went to this appointment and we were waiting in the lobby, and the test came back and the cancer hadn't spread. And my dad just said, thank you, Jesus. Praise Jesus. And that's so true. It didn't change the fact that at some point in the future that the cancer did spread. And I'm not talking years, I'm talking days, basically. You go in, oh, I got stage four, got less than a year to live. Let me get a second opinion. Okay, well, at least it hasn't spread. Praise Jesus. Or whoever you don't have to be a believer like I do. Or like, not like I do, like I am. You can, we don't have to. But then how quickly things change. Day short, just days later. And so our minds are going to react different to different situations. And those situations happen on days of the week, days of the month, days of the year. So let's try to be grateful for what we have when we're given opportunities. Let's look at them. Let's never stop dreaming. We don't know when our final day is going to be, final hour, final minute, final second. So don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. Dream, try to do what makes you feel good, doesn't make you feel dreadful that you've got to go into work or do a certain thing. Mostly the going into work and having that affect you or I. Life's too short. It's too short to spend any percentage, but especially a high percentage, higher percentage that leads to a higher percentage of stress and anxiety. So thank you for joining us on this episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. Check out our expansive catalog, over 480 episodes. Uh, Again, we can't do this without you, and you're helping us do that, and you're helping us reach and help at least 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. This particular episode, as all episodes, whether explicitly said or not, have been brought to you by Voices for Voices audio. So until next time, let's celebrate the voices of everyone across the world. And then at our level, let's be a voice for ourselves and somebody that may need their voice uh, shared because maybe they're not able to. So thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Take care. We're sending love to everybody. Bye bye.